So, Jeff, breaking news on a Monday morning. Melvin Gordon is out a few weeks. Why don't you fill us in and then tell me how to feel about
Yeah, I mean, it's devastating news if you're a fantasy owner. It's pretty much the worst news you can get because Gordon's going to be lost now for at least the first week of the fantasy playoffs.
it? Mm-hmm.
And they had a good matchup against the Bengals. So if you own, you better have Austin Eckler on your team, or Justin Jackson had 7 carries for 57 yards. So I'm not saying he's going to be the starter, but it looks like they're going to be sharing that backfield for sure. And on a football level, I don't think the Chargers are sweating it that much because they got Bosa back. They're happy their defense is rounding up, but they can ride with Eckler and Jackson for a few weeks. But this is not good news if you are a Gordon owner either way. Even if you own Eckler, you can't feel great about this. I mean, could you have confidence in Eckler, Mo?
Yeah, I think I agree that it won't be Eckler on his own. It'll be, instead of Gordon and Eckler, it'll now be Eckler and, did you say Justin Jackson?
Justin Jackson, yeah, 7 for 57.
I thought about Justin Hardy for a second, so I wanted to yeah, so I think it'll be more like that. I think the Chargers are one of these offenses that you just sort of trust the offense and you want pieces of it, and there are pieces that are frustrating, right? The same way that I think Sammy Watkins owners have been frustrated. I think if you have owned either Williams in the Chargers offense, you've been frustrated, kind of thing, although those guys have had better days, right? But it's a good offense. And I feel like the way maybe this will be good for Gordon it stinks to get hurt, right? But he'll also save him 3 weeks of wear and tear on his body. So if he comes back healthy again, he's a little bit fresher when the Chargers need him anyway. And hopefully I think it's okay because a lot of Gordon owners have Eckler. A lot of Gordon owners are probably in line to get a bye for the first round of the playoffs. And I think it's tough. It's tough, obviously, but I think you'll be okay. I think if you're a Gordon owner and now you need to pick up a running back on waivers, like Eckler's probably gone. If you can get Justin Jackson, great. But hopefully you have Eckler. Hopefully when you had your trade deadline, you sorted out. You still left yourself room to lose a guy for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, Mo. I mean, yeah, if you have Gordon and you're panicking, hopefully you get a bye in the first round of the playoffs because Eckler should be back for 15, hopefully. Maybe not in a full capacity. They might just monitor him for the rest of the regular season. But yeah, first round bye, that would be huge.
It'll be interesting to see what they have to play for that very reason, right? Because I don't think they're going to be able to win the division, but they still could, right? Do they play again, the Chargers and the Chiefs?
They do. Yeah. So they play Pittsburgh next week. They play Cincinnati in 2 weeks. So that's a good first round. And then they play Kansas City in week 15 and Baltimore week 16. So
yes, they're a good team with a lot to play for, right? This is all you want. Oh, poor guy, Jeff.
Yeah, still sick.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's like, I think you want Chargers for this very reason, because, right, like Eckler's a great handcuff to have behind one of the great running backs in the league. Rivers was near perfect, which means you can feel good about Keenan Allen. You can feel good about whichever Williams receiver you're using, in whichever spot you'd use them in.
You're not saying it's a bump up for the Rivers and Keenan Allen and the Williams boys. And I mean, Gates is alive and well all of a sudden. He's had 2 decent weeks. So funny.
I think if anything, it'll just be, I think it'll be a little bit of a bump up for Eckler, and then Jackson will now be interesting and worth considering at times. I think this is bad news for the Chargers. Their offense will be a little bit not as good for the next few weeks. You know what I mean? And so I don't necessarily want to shift production to Rivers and all these other guys because, I don't know that I don't think it's as simple as that. I think they'll miss Gordon a little bit, but they'll still be very good.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the way Eckler runs. Eckler is like a little spark plug. Like he's got a lot of juice in him for sure, so he should look good. It's funny because look, I mean, the Chargers play on primetime next week. I was
Yeah.
watching the game, and they said the Chargers haven't been on primetime since 2014. So LA doesn't like the Chargers. Television doesn't like the Chargers. And I don't know why people don't like the Chargers. I find they're a fun team to watch. I mean, they have good players. Phil Rivers, 25 for his first 25 yesterday. Did you see that? Did you hear
Yeah,
about that?
great. Yeah, was he 28 for 29 in total?
Something like 28 for 29. So and he got the 25 for 25 on the Keenan Allen touchdown, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I know fantasy experts were saying that Rivers was going to have a good game this week. They were saying that I don't think anyone saw the 25 for 25 to start the game. I don't know what that says about the Arizona defense. It's pretty sad, but
That's a pretty that's an exceptional day for a River. You know what I mean? Like you can be a bad defense, and the other opposing quarterback still won't go 25 for 25.
Yeah.
Like that's at some point that's not just how bad you are. Like
yeah, I mean, I've been a Phil Rivers owner. Have you been a Phil Rivers owner in the past? I'm sure you have at some point.
I have last year. My season didn't go very well, not because of him, but it wasn't enough to overcome it. But
he's been notorious for breaking down late in the year, numbers wise. Like he'll do what Brady did to teams last year. Rivers, he has like they definitely goes through seasons of like. Not that every player goes up and down, but some players disappear for a few weeks at a time, and I know Rivers has done that in the past, but I don't think he can afford to do that now.
The Chargers always strike me as a team that like they really have an up and down season script every year because like you'll write them off at some point, you'll think they're great at some point, and then you'll write them off again, and then they'll make a late charge to make the playoffs, and then they'll not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about as far as those disappointing Rivers games. Like I don't know if it's necessarily him like tailing off or wearing down, or a matter of just like for whatever reason, weeks 14, 15, 16, like yeah, they're good enough to get into contention, but then they lose those games. And, like them losing those games instead of winning them at the end of seasons, that's the difference between Rivers having 3 touchdowns and 350 yards or 280 yards and 2 interceptions. You know what I mean? Like that's they lose those games, you know?
Yeah.